started. My name is Samantha Johnson. I'm the library director here at Miller. I'd like to welcome everyone here and happy National Poetry Month. If you haven't encountered National Poetry Month before, it was started in 1996 by the Academy of American Poets as a way to celebrate and kind of promote the literary form. So Heather asked me to talk about the history of poetry a little bit, and I don't. So I don't know what the history is because it started, before the written word, right? But I think we could certainly say that poetry is a way of remembering things, whether it's an epic story or a single moment in time or a thing, right? And it's also a way of making that moment or that story or that object special, right? It's a way of making your audience take notice of that thing. It can be like a one moment, so it's like you're pressing a flower, right, in language, or it can be like a story that's kind of a cultural artifact, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? That's one of the first poems that we know about from about 4,000 years ago. Has anybody here written a poem? Yeah, almost everybody, right? I used to be a high school teacher a long, long time ago, and one thing that I was delighted to hear and learn was how many people have like this kind of box of poems under their bed. Maybe they don't publish them anywhere, maybe they don't intend to ever publish them, but it's a little bit like a dirty secret, right? Everybody's written their own poem, and this is a way to celebrate it. So I think sometimes reading and talking about poetry can feel a little overwhelming because those conversations happen in classes sometimes, and we feel like this pressure to say something smart, right? Or know the history of, in the context of the poetry. We have these, literary terms people use to talk about them, and those are very useful ways to talk about poetry. But it can also be fun. It can be about the language. It can be just about memory, right? So, some poems are meant, the author means for them to kind of be in your head, and some of them are really meant to be read out loud. I think we're going to hear some serious poetry in this presentation, but I would like to start out with a poem that is one of my favorite poems, and it's really meant to be read aloud. So, Jason, can you start my PowerPoint? So I'd like all of us to read this aloud together, okay? Because it's fun. Okay, so this poem is The Average Hippopotamus by Jack Prelutsky. All right, guys, we're going to read this together. Whoops. Uh-oh, what did I do? All right, ready? The average hippopotamus is big from top to bottomus. It travels at a trotamus and swims when days are hotamus. Because it eats a lotamus, it's practically a yachtamus. So it's a cinch to spot us, the average hippopotamus. There he is. So I'm going to turn the program over to Heather, and she's going to introduce the other poets.
Thank you so much, Sam. That was a nice joint reading. I really enjoyed that because I think poetry is about the enjoyment of language and the music and the line. And to bring on some of that, starting with that music and the line, I'm honored to introduce our Spanish professor here, Dr. Gregory Robertson Guerra, who is going to read a poem in Spanish by Garcia Lorca, and talk to you a little bit about him as well. So you're going to hear it in Spanish and hear it in English, and you can hear the difference, how the song, more or less the poem, sings differently in each language. So let's give a big applause for Dr. Guerra.
Thank you, and welcome. I'm so happy to be here today. 2 years ago, I was invited to a campus visit to become, I was a candidate for the position of bilingual education and Spanish here in the College of Education. And 2 years later, I'm here reading a poem for you guys. And I'm so excited about this and this opportunity. I teach literature courses here at WNMU through the College of Education. And Garcia Lorca is one of those poets that inspire me so much. He is one important poet from Andalusia in Spain, and he was a playwright, a theater director. Garcia Lorca achieved international recognition as an emblematic member of the generation of the 27, a group consisting mostly of poets who introduced tenets of European movements such as symbolism, futurism, and surrealism. And the poem that I chose to read, the name is Adelina de Paseo. La mar no tiene naranjas, ni Sevilla tiene amor. Morena, qué luz de fuego, préstame tu quitasol. Me pondrá la cara verde, zumo de lima y limón. Tus palabras, pececillos, nadarán alrededor. La mar no tiene naranjas, hay amor, ni Sevilla tiene amor. And in English, strolling Adelina. The sea hasn't oranges, nor has Sevilla love. Brown-skinned girl, what fiery light. Loan me your parasol. It will turn my face green, lemon juice and lime. Your words, tiny fishes, will go swimming all around. The sea hasn't oranges, I love, nor has Sevilla love. Thank you.
So thank you so much. It's beautiful to hear Spanish in the morning too. A beautiful poem. Hopefully you guys feel inspired. Did you notice a difference in the sound of it? All of you should sign up for Spanish class if you've not already to read some more wonderful, lovely literature. So let's give Gregory another round of applause to thank him. So thank you. The next readers we have are student readers. For some, this was probably a surprise. They're an introduction to college composition and they wrote poetry. So it's a bit of a surprise for their special project. And in this class, they're reading The Hunger Games. And so our poems were centered on the Hunger Games, which is not something you usually think of as well. We were fortunate, we had Eve, who was a previous poet laureate, come into our classroom via Zoom and tell them a little bit about her experimental poetry, which is the tripod poems. So they did some of those. Tripod poems are where you look at 3 random words in the dictionary and you write a poem with that framework, and they did that with Hunger Games, 3 random words in Hunger Games, and they wrote a poem. They also did persona poems, so they're looking at objects and animals and their perspective on the story. And then we had to do a little bit of love songs and rejection songs. So love songs from Peeta to Katniss and rejection song from Katniss to Peeta. And so they each have an order that they're going to read in, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But this is for our English Intro to College composition class. So give them a round of applause and welcome them into this lovely world of poetry. So we'll start with Tylee.
Hello. Okay, my name is Tylee, and I'm in the college class, obviously. So my first poem that I wrote is kind of like Peta's view to, it was kind of like, started off as to Katniss, but then kind of turned into like his view of like the overall games. So it goes, her hair shines like Coronado, her smile is as bright as the stars. She lights me up like lightning lights up the sky during a thunderstorm. She has struck me as hard as a bow and arrow striking one's chest. Though I ask myself, do I fear her? Do I struggle to understand her because she refuses to let me in? Or am I subconsciously fearful of what she is hiding behind those black-holed eyes? Is it that I fear her, or do I fear what I will become? Is it that I fear of who she will think I have become? Do I fear I won't be able to protect her? Or do I fear I won't be able to protect myself? I ask myself, is it the fear of death, or is it the fear of being alone and never getting to truly understand the mysterious Katniss Everdeen? Though I have to ask myself, would this mysterious girl do the same for me? Does this mysterious girl care about me enough to protect me? Does this mysterious girl have secrets that only her inner demons know? Would this girl kill for me? Would I kill for her? Does she mean that much to me? Does anything mean that much to me? Do I have an overwhelming sense of fear, or am I being cowardly for fearing the games? I ask myself, do the others want to kill me? Do I want to kill the others to save myself? How does one commit such acts? How does one move on from such things? How do you take another's life and continue to keep moving forward? I have an overwhelming fear of what seems to be everything, does this mysterious girl feel this overwhelming sense of fear as well? Can I trust this mysterious girl, or is she out to get me like the rest? How can I know, how can one tell another's intentions without knowing them wholeheartedly? Am I judging her without knowing her story, or am I fearful of her due to the guard she has put up in order to assure her own personal safety? I ask myself before dozing off, do I hide from the mysterious Katniss Everdeen, or do I embrace the girl on fire? Okay, that was my first poem. And so the second poem that I chose to read for you all is kind of like the overall contributes in the games, response and like questions to the Capitol and like why they do this. So it says, the games are starting again. The games are starting again. Who will I pick to sponsor? Who will catch my eye? Whose sob story will pull me in the most? Who will win me over? Who will win this year's Hunger Games? Are these the thoughts that go through the Capitol's heads? They all sit and wait for the contributes to arrive. But why? Why do they greet us with such excitement? What amuses them so much about those who will lose their lives? What causes them to become invested in one but not the other? Do they think of us to be human, or are we simply a figure of entertainment for them? Are they even human themselves? Do they think the same as we do? Do they feel the same feelings as we feel? Will we ever be viewed as more than the character on their screen? Will they help us, or will they hurt us? We are all asking ourselves these questions. We ask ourselves, will they care enough to see us live? Will they care enough to send us help? We ask ourselves why we do this for them. Why are we forced into these inhumane acts? Why are we forced to hurt the innocent? Why do we become unwilling entertainment for others? How do we get out? How do we win? How do we amuse them? How do we pull them in? Are we looking for our out? We are all looking for our out. We are all searching for the ending of this nightmare. Please end this nightmare and tell me, Capitol. Tell me who will win this year's Hunger Games. was all for my reading. And so thank you.
Hi, my name is Zara. I'm from Colombia. I'm a freshman and my major is psychology. So my first poem is, I know you see me as an enemy, the last person to trust, that I always have dull intentions, a kid who talks by his privilege, that I'm not trustworthy, I'm against you, wish to divorce and I want to kill you. What you see in me is not the real me. I want to help you, care about you, and respect you. I'm a thoughtful person. Everything I've done is for your benefit. Even though you don't understand me, all I want you is to win. That's my first poem. Okay, my second poem is The Capital, the best of the best. The children of districts to suffer. Play the cruel design of the Hunger Games. Children from district are forced to fight in the capital arena all day, all night, playing with lives in desperate ways to survive, while capital just watch and have fun. Katniss and Peeta from District 12 go against this cruel game, refuse to follow the capital desire, and will not change themselves because of it. That was everything. Thank you for listening.
Hello, I am Nikki Palomares. I am a freshman here, and I'm from El Paso, Texas, and I am majoring in early childhood education. My first one is called Hungry Love. I crave the touch of you, but you don't see me. But you are seen by all. Everyone admires you. I've always been admired by your beauty. You're not like the other girls, the way you hold yourself high, the way your hair flows in the wind. You are all I've ever wanted. Second one. All she sees is a young, scared boy. She thinks I'm not truthful and full of lies. She thinks I have changed as a person, someone who she can't trust. Yet she hasn't gotten the chance to actually get to know me. Yes, I might be scared, but who wouldn't be? I am someone to trust, I don't lie. I will only lie if it has a benefit, if it will keep us alive. That's it.
Hi, my name is Jose Perez. I'm from Rio, Arizona. It's my first semester here, and I'm majoring in criminal justice. My first poem is about how Hamish thinks Katniss thinks of him. I know you think this disgusting and alcoholic. I know you see me as a druggie with nothing. You see me like I'm mad or not willing to help, and always calling you sweetheart. Well, am I that? You don't know me. I played in the Hunger Games. I know the right and wrong and willing to help you. I'm your mentor, and I know what's best. I will help you. That's my first one. All right, this one is called Love Yours. It's the love Peeta has for Katniss. I always had a crush on you, but you never knew. Be looking at my shop just to look at you. But I'm not the only one. Other guys like you too, and you know it. But I could never tell you I liked you. But here we are, the effect you have on me is love yours. When we win the games, I hope I can show you my love. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Peggy, and I really don't need a microphone. My name is Peggy Donato, and as you can see, I'm the oldest of the bunch. My major is to become a drug and alcohol counselor. My poems are for Katniss and Cinna. I'm the type of person that has to be hands-on so I had to draw you guys pictures, so. Okay, this is Katniss, okay, because I had to see what she looked like in order to write about her. Okay, it says, my first one is, why must I doubt? It says, I hate the feeling of having doubt, so I try to think of a different route. I don't understand why you're being so kind. Is it all a part of the game to play with my mind? I want to see you as someone I can trust. You're here to help me, so maybe I must. You say that they love me just the way I am now? To be myself, I should know how. I have so much going through my mind. A little rest I need to find. I thank you for taking this doubt away. Now I know it's going to be a better day. That's my Katniss. Then I have Cinna, which is one of her people who get her ready, her stylist, I guess. Okay, this one is, you can trust me. I know you don't trust me. This I understand, but soon you will see. I know you don't understand why I'm being so kind. This I understand, but soon you'll find. I know it may sound crazy to you, and I'm not telling you what you should do. So when you go out there and your life you start to share, remember, you're not some trophy on a shelf. Always remember, just be yourself. You can trust me. I'm your friend, you see. That's it. Thank you.
My apologies for not being ready for this, so I have it on my phone. Obiakini na pinge ke wasate sante atoa umu te toa umu mana tori wehi tuma. Morning, my name is Quincy Pena, majoring in zoology. This is my first year, and my first poem is about Katniss crossing the threshold with the characters that are involved in the book. In the district's grass, Katniss strides, with rules grace where hope abides. Through thresholds veil, through courage guides, with gale strength they face the night. Prim's innocence, a beacon bright, in unity they forge their fight. Through trials deep, they stand entwined, and threshes wisdom, bond, and refine. Together through the thresholds bind. My second one is Katniss' perspective on Peeta. In the arena's cruel embrace I stand, a hunter's born of fire and strife, but in his eyes I see a different land. A world where love defies the blade and knife, he paints his words with colors bright. A canvas of hope in a realm of despair, in his arms I find respite. A sanctuary from the game's relentless snare, yet beneath his gentle facade I sense the shadows of deeper truth, a maze of feelings intense, a labyrinth where truth and doubt ensure, so I tread cautiously, wary and unsure. In this dance of hearts entwined, for in his love I find a lure, but also echoes of a darker kind. Thank you. Good night.
Hello, my name is Caden Wagner. I'm from Prescott, Arizona, and I'm majoring in business management, and I'm a freshman here. My first one is called The Game. You were the creator and I was the player. You used me for entertainment. You used me to gain fame. All you cared about was people knowing your name. It was all out of fear and no respect. You had power and you could never do wrong. I could never defy you. Or you would make a statement to maintain order. You made me kill for entertainment. You were the only person that could end this, and you were the creator, was the only winner. That's my first. My second one is the loved one getting denied by campus. With each glance, he liked her more and more. Through the darkness of the games, he stood by her side, but she was fierce with walls held high. Her liking for him was a mystery in her eye. He spoke tender, he was pure, but she stayed distant, she was still unsure. He stayed for her love, but she turned away, leaving him with nothing to say. Yet, with rejection, he still found light in this world so cruel.
So it is usually intimidating to stand in front of everyone. So I want you to give them a round of applause. They did a nice job, not knowing that this is what they were signing up for with the composition class here. So our next presenter is going to present our Poet Laureate program and our Poet Laureates. And so I want you to give a round of applause for JJ, who is our writer in residence here at Western.
Hello, everybody. My name is JJ Amawaro Wilson. As Heather said, I'm the writer in residence here at the university. I just want to thank Heather for organizing this event. Thank you so much to Samantha and her team at Miller Library also for hosting. And I just want to echo what Heather said. Students, congratulations. It's very nerve-wracking reading your work in front of an audience. You did a great job. Congratulations. It's my great pleasure to talk a little bit about the Poet Laureate program. Can you put your hand up if you have ever heard of the Poet Laureate program before today? About half of you. Well, you have now, anyway. The Poet Laureate program of Silver City and Grant County was the brainchild of a wonderful man named Jim Kelly. He's sadly no longer with us. He was a journalist. He was a member of the Southwest Festival of the Written Word, which is the local book festival. And in 2010, he had this idea to celebrate our local poets. He recognized that we had some very, very gifted poets around this area. And he wanted to kind of elevate poetry for the community. And he had this idea, as I said, back in 2010. Sadly, he was already in ill health. He passed away a couple of years after that. But he passed on the idea to me, and I was one of the members of the Southwest Word Fiesta, as it's now called, and I just ran with his idea. We put together a committee, a selection committee to choose the Poet Laureate. We wrote all the sort of rules of the Poet Laureate, really with the idea of just elevating poetry, that these poets would go around the community, into schools, etc., and just read their poems and just encourage people to love poetry. Our first Poet Laureate was the amazing Bonnie Buckley Maldonado in 2011. I will be introducing Bonnie in a moment. But I just want to say that we've been so lucky to have 6 amazing poets. After Bonnie, we've had Jack Crocker, we've had Beate Sigridot, we've had Elise Stewart, who came immediately after Bonnie, Alison Waterman, who works here, and Eve West Bessier, who lives in Alamogordo, is no longer here. They've all been magnificent as Poets Laureate. They've gone into schools and encouraged young kids to read and write poetry. They've done countless readings all over the community. They've organized open mics, all the while they've been publishing their work. And they've really done a wonderful job for us and made the program a success. Each of them, or the ones who are here, are going to come up and read a little and maybe speak a little about poetry. And I'm just going to very briefly introduce them one at a time. And the first, as I mentioned, is Bonnie Buckley Maldonado, who is a legend in the local community, and not just a literary community. She also worked at WNMU for 30 years as a professor and an administrator. As our inaugural Poet Laureate, Bonnie was absolutely tireless. She gave so many readings over that 2 years, dozens and dozens of readings. She went all over the place. At one point in 2012, very late at night, there was the sound of footsteps on my roof. And I remember turning to my wife and saying, "It's probably Bonnie doing a poetry reading." She was just everywhere. Bonnie, thank you so much for being the person and the poet that you are. Bonnie's originally not from here, but lived here 40 years, something like that. And she's from Montana, sorry. And after working 30 years here, she's been a full-time poet ever since. Bonnie Buckley Maldonado.
Thank you, JJ. Good morning, everybody. You know, like the students here, I was once a student at Western. I came to Silver City over 60 years ago to attend school for 1 year. To finish, I needed to finish a degree so I could support my 2 children. And being a single mom at that time was rather startling to people. But I have to say that I started writing poetry when I was 9 years old. And the poems I want to share with you today were written for a book called The Secret Lives of Us Kids. And it was my story, my childhood memoir of growing up on the Canadian border at the beginning of World War II and the end of the Great Depression. It was a time of great loss in my family, and it was also the time that I realized how important poetry was to me. So I want to do a poem about the books I loved. The Apple Crate. My library is a 1930 Essex, dark green with cream velvet seats. Daddy bought that car for $25, hoping he could make it run. Tangles of yellow buffalo peas climb up the hood and tires. I lean back on the back seat, admiring my books lined up in an apple crate. Heidi, Lamb Shakespeare for Children, The Prince and the Pauper, and many more. And I have to mention Nancy Drew, who our composition class may be too young to remember, but Nancy Drew was quite the mystery writer when I was a child. Willie Suda bought that car, and I cried over the loss of those velvet seats and my secret place with my apple crate. The next secret place I would find was within myself. Thank you. I have to say that in the last year I have lost my central vision, so I guess you would say, in common terms, I'm legally blind. So what I have to do now is memorize my poetry. It's not enough to be old. On top of that, I have allergies. So trying to read my poems has been a bit of a challenge. I'm going to give it a try. This is a poem called Jerry's Poem, and it was written in 1976. And Jerry was my youngest of 3 brothers. And I took care of him when he was little and read him stories and went for walks with him. And this is a story about him. The Sweetgrass Hills are a mountain island, a sacred place for the Blackfeet. Their summer camp until the buffalo were gone. Frigid west winds ravaged Gold Butte, West Butte, and Grassy too. Pinned them down to size until juniper trees only grew the size of grass. What shepherd stacked pillars of rocks, raised them to the sky with gold and green lichens climbing their sides, 15 feet square and 6 feet high. What were his thoughts as he hefted painted rocks? Did he want to build a castle tower? Or did he plant rocks as one would a garden, one eye on the sheep and the other creating something that would outlast him? Perhaps in another life, Jerry would have been known as Speaks Like Thunder, born out of time, making sense of this marked mountain place of slippery shale and secret stands of sweetgrass. I would like to think that this is the ranch he never had, with virgin grasses growing to his waist, buffalo running too fast to count, and him an Indian. Thank you. I just want to say, keep writing, keep being creative, preserve your stories because they're valuable. And like me, you'll go back to them when you're old. I was 70 years old before I started publishing my poetry. Because when I was here at Western, my life was very involved with students. And I had a wonderful time, but I didn't do my own writing. I wrote reports. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bonnie. 3 most important words she said: preserve your stories. That's for all of us. Our second poet laureate is Elise Stewart. I remember years ago, Elise came to a workshop that I was running, It was just a writers group, and we would bring in our work. And I just remember thinking, who is this incredibly talented writer? And she kept at it, and a few years later she became the second poet laureate of Silver City and Grant County. I wanted to mention, this is The Secret Lives of Us Kids that Bonnie read from. This was Elise's very first collection called Another Door Calls. It's fantastic. Elise, really pleased to have you here.
Thank you guys for being here and for listening. The Poet Laureate program came to me when I was I'd been writing for a long time, but I was kind of young in my poetry, I'd say. I didn't have a lot of poems that were finished. And so it was a great support to my work, and it really lifted me up and helped me continue and want to learn more and want to write more. So I have lots of good things to say about it, and I really appreciate the fact that we were kind of let out to pastures, so to speak, to do whatever we would like to do with poetry. And so my project when I became the Poet Laureate was to work with the youth. And so I gave youth workshops all over Grant County. I went to San Lorenzo, and I went to Bayard, and I went to Santa Clara, and I went to Stout, and I went everywhere that I could that they would let me go. And did 4 weeks with each class, and had kids write their own poems. And then the culmination of the project would be for them to write their own poem on a square of muslin that I cut out, and then they would sometimes illustrate it, and then I ironed them and starched them and hung them up in schools and coffee houses, and we put some at Millie's, libraries, everywhere. It was a great thing. It was a great thing to help youth have their voice, because you guys are the ones. You carry it on. So I appreciate you. And I'm going to read a poem that I wrote at that time. I think poetry is not only a remembrance, it's a way of making sense of the world, of your own world, of this outer world. And there's things that come when you write that have come to me that I never knew that I knew. It's a way of seeing. It's a way of seeing. So this is called Entering the Wild. Entering the wild, you go back to the time before this time. It was always this way. When you walked the paths slowly, gathered by the river to wash, looked into each other's eyes, spoke without words. Walking through the bright, wide open, you see a narrow path and turn to follow. Down in the creek bed, sudden shade greets you from both sides, sweeping your eyes along the banks, looking for tracks in the sand, listening for the sounds, the scurry of animals. Above your head, trees are your canopy. A bird calls out his song over and over. You keep walking through an old pear orchard. A steep slope carries you down, and you hear a waterfall splashing quietly, trickling down over rocks, flowing into a shallow stream at the bottom. Water cools your feet. You listen. Only the sound of water. You breathe. This place is like the place inside that becomes real when you trust. Entering the wild, you are not afraid. You have never known fear. The broken branch hanging limp from above, the soft green leaves of the mullein growing in the shape of a curve, the shattered eggshell of some small bird. You see the world in a new way. Each leaf, each animal, each heart, your heart is perfect, full of beauty, full of its imperfections. This is a place where the truth of wild beauty still exists. This is a place where everything teaches you. Thank you. Thank you, Jason.
you so much. Our third poet laureate after Elise was not an individual, it was two poets laureate. We just had two magnificent poets, magnificent people also, Beate Sigurdóttir and Dr. Jack Crocker. And we couldn't decide between them, and we didn't want to lose one of them, so we decided to get them to do it together. And they were a magnificent team. Our first reader will actually be Beate. Beate is originally from Germany, from Nuremberg. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. She grew up in the shadow of a magical castle and World War II ruins, which I imagine have shaped her imagination. Beate does something extremely rare in that she writes amazing poetry in what isn't her first language. I don't know how she can do that. I know you did it from Colombia. Is it Sara? Eres de Colombia? You did magnificently. Beate's been doing this for decades. She's very, very widely published, an award-winning poet, a novelist, a memoirist, and just a wonderful pillar of our literary community. She's published enormous amounts, and you're going to come up and read something for us? Thank you, Beate.
Thank you all for being here and also for having me here. It's been wonderful listening to all of your poetry and Bonnie's poetry and Elise's poetry. The importance, I think, for poetry to me is, you know, we're all basically critters. We sleep and we eat and so on. And there's something in us that wants to express our spirit and our minds. And I guess higher mathematics would do it too, but I don't know a whole lot about that. The poetry, to me, what's important and what was lovely about being in the Poet Laureate program is that we egg each other on, we inspire each other, we keep our spirits going, and we put little sparks into each other. And I think that's just a fantastic thing to do. I went to jail for poetry. I taught a little bit at the local jail, and it's been a wonderful program, and I hope it will continue with people like you growing into it. One of the things about poetry is to me, it's about celebration. Now, we have a lot of things to complain about in life, but we have prose for that, so we don't necessarily need to spend all of our poetry on it. And I'm always trying to, you know, write the next poetic ode to joy, but I haven't quite got there yet, but I'm working on it. And here's a poem called The Poem I Always Wanted to Write. This is for you, my love, sweet earth, my home, sphere of water, sun, life. My wide wings unfold with memory and breath and tears that form without shame. At my feet, small flowers, practice in case I ever master the language of prayer. Thank you, thank you. I love this day, this sun, this water, this amazing line of gold. You paint on waves between the sun and my eyes, light that follows wherever I go. How you open each moment like music I am meant to fall in love with, but haven't yet heard. How you make me want to touch the mist and watch the sun slide between veils of morning. Or one night at the shore, the gentlest rain ever. I don't even know it rains until I touch my hair. An ancient scent of longing lingers in the air. A dark cat slinks through damp evening grass. At home, my mother's angel glitters in the open window, and I trust your sweetness. Your reality always takes me by surprise. I want to be a waterfall rushing to where I belong. I want to be the story I have always wanted to sorry about that. I want to be the story I have always wanted to hear. I didn't know we were entitled to read 2 poems, so here's a very short one. It's called Immortality. Just in case, bury me in a dancing dress.
Thank you, Beate. Those poems are from this magnificent collection, Wildflowers, my personal favorite of all Beate's wonderful books. As I mentioned before, we had 2 poets laureate at the same time. The other was our very own Vice Provost for Academic Affairs, Dr. Jack Crocker. Jack's a great poet, great musician, former athlete, he's an everyman, he's good at everything. Unfortunately, he's not here, but one thing he was very good at is having children. And Jessie, his daughter, is going to come and read for Jack.
Obviously I'm not Dr. Crocker, but I have 2 poems that I picked out from his 2 published books. And the first one is from The Algorithm of I, which is actually the first publication of the Members Press, which is here in Silver and at Western. And so this one was written, I'm pretty sure, while we were living here. It's called Feeding the Birds. I refill the feeders and watch the birds return. 3 courageous scouts exploring the bounty. Soon the word is out. The sparrows are first, and then a rush of nervous titmice flutter in and out. Blustery doves bully the air. Gambles quail sneak in by ground to the seed block stand. I stretch out in bed to read and suddenly think of the monk who lay in his coffin each morning, rehearsing. A breeze through the open door takes me back to our time living on the beach. The wide water, bright in the morning, fading to black hole at night. A ship's light floating like a star on the horizon. Sudden storms brought the damp urgency of desire. Now we are among the mountains, the Gila Range, farther west where the sun's light is delayed, though higher I'm no further from the grave. We refill our lives with fate more than plan. Today, while you and the kids are out buying milk and bread, I watch the avid beaks tick the grain away and listen to the birds sing us into our new place. Tomorrow I'll fill the feeders again. Love works that way. So that's for the second book. And then, kind of fun, his first book, the next poem I read is called Jessie. And I just think it's really special to be able to read, a poem that was written about me when I was maybe 2 weeks old. But here. I watch her mouth open as if to speak, to say what she wants or how it feels to be. 2 months old, or to ask the name of light, or how to describe my face. Everything exists. Now to know. She brings with her tucked away in the storage chests of her genes the dowry of my life and her mother's, the history of all life concocted in a small briny pouch. In sleep she dreams, or is she remembering the dangers of savannas, the safety of trees? All the way back to a place where we, so fraught with dailiness, can no longer enter. Is she a child, or a being old as the sea? Awakening, she smiles as if knowing nothing, or everything. Innocence welling through her eyes so pure and terrible it floods the heart's encompassing shield. She has heard her own voice and marveled at the sound, testing it with gurgling vowels and high-pitched squeals. The first notes of peace, joy, fear, and pain. Soon she will leave this music of the unspeakable, for thoughts that have to be put to words, coming like a comet trailing her ancient history into our world of good and evil, love and hate. She will learn the word human and read this poem. And when you do, Jessie girl, I will tell you then as I read it now every night. Anyways.
Thank you, Jack, for your words. Thank you, Jessie, for reading them so beautifully. The first poem comes from The Algorithm of I. As Jesse mentioned, this is the first publication of Mimbres Press of Western New Mexico University, which is our university press. The final two poets laureate I'm going to mention, they're not here, but Eve West Bessier, who's now in Alamogordo. She's an amazing poet, she's a performance artist, she's a jazz vocalist. She often sings at her readings, which always brings an element of fun. And I believe she's made a recording for us. So Jason, if you're ready, would you put on Eve West Bessier? Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Eve West Bessier, and I was Poet Laureate of Silver City and Grant County from May of 2019 through April of 2021. The first year of my tenure, I was able to have a lot of in-person events. I hosted a monthly reading series at the Tranquil Buzz called Word Feast, which was a continuation of an event that Beate Sigridottir had been holding there. She was the prior Poet Laureate. I was able to teach a class at Aldo Leopold and also with Heather Franklin's class at the university. And there were lots of other really fun things that happened in person that first year. And then COVID hit. So I had to shift into a virtual format, and luckily Zoom was available. So I shifted Word Feast to be a weekly writers group. We met every Thursday for an entire year, which was wonderful and created a very closely knit community of writers. I was able, with Levi Romero, the then Poet Laureate of the state of New Mexico, to create a virtual event for Southern New Mexico writers and poets, which was just terrific. And I was able to get some Southern New Mexico writers published in El Palacio, the magazine of the Museum of New Mexico, as guest editor for that magazine during my tenure as Poet Laureate. I wrote lots of poems, published a couple of poetry books during my tenure, and I'm just going to read a lighthearted one for you from one of those books. This is Exposures, Tripod Poems. Those of you who know me, which is quite a few of you probably, know that I like to write poems based on 3 random words that I pick from the dictionary. And then those words become the title of the poem and are used within the poem. So this poem, the 3 random words I picked were swoon, engineer, matrilineal. I don't swoon over imaginary numbers. Differential equations create no ecstatic buzz of pleasure in my brain. I do find string theory and astrophysics fascinating. I am super fast with calculus, but only on my back molars. I haven't encountered a 2-molar solution since 10th grade. I do enjoy order. Matrilineal genetic patterns, my mom's dad being an engineer, passed down to give me a fastidious set theory whenever I pack a suitcase. I swoon over pragmatic organization. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the program.
A remote thank you. Can you hear me? Oh, yes. A remote thank you to Eve. Our current Poet Laureate could not be here. It's Alison Waterman. Some of you might know her because she works in the Writing Center. Her office is over there. She's a great poet, very involved in the spoken word. She's part of Silver City Poetry Bread and the Slam Poets. I think that brings my participation to an end. Thank you very much to all the Poets Laureate for their readings, for being here.
Okay, so JJ began with a question if you knew about the Poet Laureate program, and now all of you know about the Poet Laureate program, right? What we're going to have next, I'm representing the humanities group, the humanities department, otherwise said. The humanities department has 2 writing contests every year. We have one that's the creative writing contest, and we have an academic writing contest. So the academic writing contest is still going, and those of you who are students here, you can submit up till April 8th. But the creative writing contest, it took us a long time because we had really good writers. We had a lot of final rounds, we'll say, but we have our winners, and so I'm here to announce them for the humanities department, and I'm here to, a couple of them are here to actually read a bit of their winning work. The winners will be published in the Maverick, which is the student branch of Members Press. They will also be promoted by Western and the humanities department, so you get to see a little bit of their work in various formats. And so since this is National Poetry Month event, we'll start with the poets, and I'll introduce the winners first, and then we have one of our winners here who will read, and then we will go into the prose. And so for our poets, we had 3 winners. We normally had 2, but we could not decide on our second place winners. So our first place is to Brandon Miller for his poem, The Joys of Cycling. So go ahead and give Brandon applause. And our 2 second place winners who could not make it, one who actually works in the Writing Center as well. This is to Ariana Zuniga for Ode to Praise. So give her a round of applause. She was at class, she could not come today. And our other second place winner is to Felix Gutierrez for Reality's Escape. So give him a round of applause as well. And so we are fortunate that we have Brandon here. And so Brandon, if you wouldn't mind coming up and reading a little bit of your poem for us. So thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Brandon. I'm a student here at Western Mass University, pursuing a BA in English. And it's just so funny, like when I started writing 7 years ago, I remember just, because I'm actually from Socorro, and I remember, the first journal I got when I began this whole pilgrimage, you might say. And I remember just eating my food, just writing whatever was going on in my mind in the journal. And almost 7 years later, I'm now reading some of my work in a university. So it's just really strange, like where life can take you. I'm gonna begin this reading the way I did the poetry reading when I first went to Javelina. And that is by a quote by a Russian novelist, some of you might know, Alexander Solzhenitsyn. And there's a quote, I was watching a documentary, and there's a quote that I really like, and it should be a source of inspiration, it should be kind of motivating for anybody who is a writer. And it really speaks to me. He once said, that he was talking about Russian writers, and he said that one cannot be a great Russian writer without first being on the front line. And I don't know what it's about catastrophe, but it'll give you a lot of material to work with, So, yeah, let's just cut to the chase. I don't want to waste your guys' time. So, this first piece is called Kid in the Candy Store, and it was something that happened right around December. I actually went to the casino the first time with my father, and I'd never been to a casino before. I'd never really been into gambling, but it was such a surreal experience. And so, literally, when I got home, or once after I got to, because I was visiting my grandfather, I decided to write this piece because I just felt like that it was just such a strange experience because, we all remember going to Chuck E. Cheese, but there was something very reminiscent about it. So I just figured, like, I'll just write about it, so. Kid in a Candy Store. I was told to read only a portion, so I'll just read the first paragraph. I got to go to a casino for the first time in my life. I went with my father. It was an Indian casino on a reservation, so there was a lot of natives and Latinos. We figured we'd stop there to make some extra cash, show me something different. I did say I want to enjoy life. I didn't want to miss my chance. So I went in. I signed up for my card and got $20 worth of credits. We walked around and approached the nearest slot machine. I gazed at the rainbow of gold and neon. All I could think to myself is, this is like an adult Chuck E. Cheese. I felt like a kid in a candy store, except I'm hairy and tall now, and there's no fucking mouse. I see myself on the jackpot machine. My dad has shown me the ropes. It's simple. You bet, you pull the lever like it's a stick shift. It spins, sevens line up. You either win and get extra points, or you realize you're still flat broke. And from then on, you're pulling the lever like a bolt action, going back and forth, betting 20, 60, or 120 credits a slot. That's the name of the game. Once I was done, I went to another machine. Now we're up about 5, 25, 75, 125, I think. It was on this pink slot machine that had a disco's Las Vegas early 70s vibe to it. Same principle. This time around, I won about $25. It was basically free money. Then again, I spent 20 only to profit 5. That's how it goes in the casino. That's how they get you, my dad says. And I'll stop there. That's the first portion. So, this next one's called The Joy of Cycling. And this one, I actually wrote 3 years ago. I was at work one day and I was just, writing as I usually like to do. And I was just kind of like, just quickly jotted down because I've been living in Silver for about almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in July. And didn't start writing until about 1 or 2. And this is, of course, a thriving cycling community. So I figured, I wanted to write a poem that I think reflected my experience of riding my bicycle in this town. And some of you guys probably see me. I'm used to the guy with the green helmet and stuff like that. And it's one of one of my joys in life is to ride my bicycle. So I usually do it quite often. And I have to. I don't have a car right now. So this is for all you cyclists out there, I guess. Do you want to read the whole poem? That's okay. The joys of cycling. There is something about the way the wind passes by, the adrenaline that courses through my veins, the exhilaration of drifting on my vessel, grazing through gravel pastures, journeying through all manners of twists and turns, highs and lows, ups and downs, to the top of the highest hills, all the way down to the lowest valleys, of trenches, rivers, creeks, and troves. The laws of man do not apply to me. With my vessel I surpass my limits, and fly swiftly through dirt roads and back roads, traveling afar, from city blocks to city limits. There I go, pedaling away outside the walled gardens, out into the unknown, terrain of what lies outside. I want a ride that lasts forever, with endless roads and places to go. I prefer the sky when it is clothed in blackness. The air is cool and the gentle breeze so gentle, with less traffic and noise. The ride is smooth, painless, and serene. The night is still and calm. I can glide and soar under the watchful eye of Providence. Sometimes I join the other drivers, single file, approaching the stoplight, green. I ride on the bike lanes even when it vanishes. I stay on those roads until I see an intersection. I exit the roaring of the trucks and motorcycles and vans. I enter quiet neighborhoods, passing by all the neat houses and apartments, deep into the night. It's so quiet. Sometimes I see the residents sitting on the porches. A fire is ablaze. The garage door is perched open. An occasional cat, even the occasional deer. There is, of course, the occasional dog who I pet only when they're not charging after me. I pass all the street lamps, all the posts and signs, all the driveways and gateways, neighborhoods as deep as the forest of Rod, archipelagos and mazes. I'm alone, trekking with the company of my thoughts, my worries, my hopes. I have my favorite areas, my preferred routes, places that feel right there and then. I'm thirsty. I park and sip in my canteen. Much better. Now I can go on for 1 more hour. I want a ride that lasts forever. It's getting late. Even the bike is weary. It aches and quakes, sighs and cries. I must rest too. Time to go home, the most dreadful part of going for a ride. Even then, I must pass through 1 more neighborhood. Just 1 more. For my thoughts continue to go as fast as I'm pedaling. Okay, now I can rest. I approach my door, put the keys in, and turn the knob. I come to a house as dark as the outside, with only but the vibrant glow of my mounted light. I take off my helmet as the night takes off theirs after a long journey. That was a nice ride, a pleasant ride. A ride I wish would last forever. Cars are nice, and motorcycles are cool too. Yet there are no rules to the motorless two-wheel machine. I can go anywhere I want, as fast as I want, in solitude, with only the company of my thoughts. There lies the joys of cycling. If there is a heaven and is indeed forever, then I wish to be buried in my hearse along with my slender steed, and only then can I have a ride that lasts forever and experience true eternal bliss with the cool air and gentle breeze. And that's it. You know, she told me that, you know, to give a big backstory of myself, but honestly, I think there's nothing more to be said, but there is a lot more to be done. And I guess I'll see you guys in July for my next poetry reading at the Javelina. Thank you.
So Brandon actually won our first place for Prose 2, Kid in a Candy Store. It was our first time we've had someone win both categories. So he read the first piece there. Give him a round of applause. Thank you. And our second place winner for prose is Gabe Farley for Floor Time. So give a round of applause to Gabe.
Hello, thank you very much. I woke up to an email this morning that I had won, and it was about 9:30, and I rushed down here because I didn't think I would win anything. It was just sort of a piece of writing I wanted to submit. Be like, yeah, we'll see what happens. So that was pretty surprising. So thank you. I'm currently, I guess, a sophomore pursuing my art degree. I'm in. I don't know why I'm ducking down.
You can take that out if you want. Yeah, pull the microphone out.
I'm currently in Professor Franklin's Comp 2 class, and so she recommended to us that we submit something. I did this little piece of writing, I guess you would call it a prose piece, about like this time a couple years ago that I kind of had like a very mild psychosis episode, and so it's about that. I was also sick last week, so if my voice is a little off, that's why. It's not because I'm nervous. Floor time. I am myself from the past. I am lying on the floor in my unfinished living room of my apartment, and my body hurts. My lungs ache, and my chest muscles are sore. I inhale. This room is a mess of partially finished construction projects and tools. Strewn about clothing, and dust covers everything, including my small bookshelf and coffee table. My reality is folding in on itself as I lie here, not in a dramatic way, but rather a very banal sort of way. I am not perceiving time as I feel like I should be. I should be going about my day like any other person, like someone who worked through their day, someone who had time to go to the store to pick up groceries, plan out dinner with their partner or family, leisure time, bedtime. But here where I am lying, my arms flat against the cold, flaky linoleum floor, my face laying sideways in a thin layer of concrete dust, time isn't working quite right. I want the minutes to pass in a miserable way, a predictable, logical method, like I'm used to, where 1 minute takes the same amount of time as a minute before, and the same for the previous, but I can't make it work. The logical measuring part of my brain just isn't functioning for me. I lift my arm from the floor and reach for my phone a few feet away. I check my phone's clock, 3:37 p.m. Okay, it's like 3:30 or whatever, mid-afternoon. I put my head back to the center of the floor and look up at the white ceiling. Old paint is peeling away from the wood in the corners. I check again a couple minutes later, 4:56. That's frustrating. I didn't even notice the sun move. This stresses me out because I was brought up in a way that valued productivity in time. Not that my family was so specifically eager to uphold these parts of our cultural capitalism, but I am a product of my culture at large, and my culture tells me that I am valued by how hard I work, and how much I can get done in a certain amount of time. I have not fully yet deconstructed that philosophy. My body is a vessel for work, and my hands get beaten down physically, but they recover in time for the next project. My days are leaving me behind. I am 27 now. I turned 27 a few weeks ago, several months ago, yesterday. What have I achieved in that amount of time? I'm not sure. Last year I was 24. I got a lot done in that time, but I have become a different person. Where I am living now, my new home, is a lot more complete and livable now. It wasn't like that 4 months ago. Yet I am still face down in construction particles, my sore fingers and wrists to the side, my chest weighed down by the hours and the years. It's okay because I'm almost finished with the table I'm working on. I just added a new finish to it. I got something done. The afternoon sun hits the surface in a way that brings out a beautiful golden color that reflects a new warmth onto the walls. I ordered the new table legs for it yesterday, and they will be here Wednesday, 6 days from now. It is 5:01 now. Did time slow itself because I was thinking about my projects? That's interesting. What will I do until Wednesday arrives? I'm not sure. I suppose I will find distractions that allow me to not look so deeply at the minutes as they bounce around. But I do know that after that, I'll have a nice table that I'm going to load up with a bunch of stuff that I own, and it will sit like that for months. Progress. Tomorrow, I'll be in Mexico. 3 years in the future, sitting in a beachside hut with the salted ocean wind on my side, wondering slightly about how I got here. But right now, it's 5:55, and the evening sun still envelops my room, illuminating my life in pieces, casting shadows in the dust. And time, I'm pretty sure, still moves forward, despite my uncertainty. I'll be lying on the floor until the sun goes down, looking through listings for used wristwatches on my phone. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Madeleine Nitmo. She is the Instruction and Outreach Librarian here at Miller Library, and she is a recent refugee from Texas. Maddie's going to tell us, she's going to do a reading and tell us a little bit about the Mexican poet Jimmy Santiago Baca.
Hi, so yes, I'm Maddie, and I like being described as a refugee from Texas. It's my new moniker, it's gonna go on my business card. So I'm here to kind of close us out of our program today, and I thought there was no better way to kind of celebrate poetry, especially here in New Mexico, than to talk about New Mexico's probably most prolific poet, Jimmy Santiago Baca. So born into hardship and adversity, Baca's life journey has been one of resilience, redemption, and remarkable literary achievement. From his early years spent in prison to becoming an acclaimed poet and writer. With a voice that is both poignant and compelling, Baca's work resonates with raw emotion, truth, and an unyielding spirit. His writings explore themes of identity, justice, love, and the human condition, offering us profound insights into the complexities of life. Through his powerful use of language and imagery, Baca invites readers into the depths of his experiences, challenging us to confront the harsh realities of the world, while also celebrating the beauty and resilience of the human spirit. In Martine and Meditations of the South Valley, which is what I'll be reading from, Baca offers an exploration of his own journey as well as the collective experiences of his community. Through intimate reflections and poignant observations, he navigates the landscape of memory, longing, and redemption, and his words are able to evoke a sense of place and belonging that go beyond geographical boundaries. Through his poetry, Baca offers a vision of the world where the wounds of the past can be healed and where the seeds of compassion and understanding can flourish. Jimmy Santiago Baca's work speaks to the universal human experience, reminding us the power of storytelling and its ability to connect to us across time and space. So now I'll be doing a small reading of Baca's work, just one poem. So Antonio, you say something with your polished brownwood eyes. Your legs bend to steady you on the unseen horse. You turn your head back to see me, then go into the red hills of sunlight in the backyard. Down curving paths of moss and fire, awake the sleeping goddess of dirt to plant your yellow flower soul in her mouth with a stick. My son, your eyes are music storms. Filled with the black song of earth, your heart's reddened eye peers at a blue alfalfa flower, glowing with your destiny. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you to SWAG. Thank you to the Southwest Word Fiesta, WNMU Media Services, Miller Library, and the Humanities Department. And I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your day. Thank you so much.